Hello everybody, how's it going? It's Friday night here in New York City. You can see how nice everything looks. Everything looks kind of closed. Figured I'd show you around, talk a little bit. I'm back on my normal bike, which is the normal little two-seater I have, not that one gigantic one that I have all the batteries on. I messed it up, fixed it up, and now it's usable again. I want to say thank you to Curtis at Echelon Cycles on Horatio and 8th Avenue. Really nice guy. Lots of bike shops did not want to help me with any of my stuff, and they were very, very, very polite, kind, helpful. None of that like annoying hipster shit where like you asked, can I pay you to pump up a suspension fork that I have because my air compressor doesn't go as high as I need it to, and they just look at you and say no, or they just stare at your bike because it has a motor on it and refuse to do it. Like, they're actually nice people. I feel kind of bad because a lot of their reviews suck. I left them a 5-star today. So thank you, Curtis, for not being a condescending hipster prick and being a really nice bike technician. I thought I'd just show you around the city a little bit. My brakes still kind of squeak a little. I cleaned off my rotor with alcohol and a new microfiber. I just didn't want to stay at work all night and like wiping it. So there's going to be a little squeaking, but you guys will live with it. So as you can see, there's some restaurants that are doing the outdoor dining thing again. I know there's been talk about how long that's going to last. I think it may last until September or October, and then they shut it down until next year. I'm not quite sure what they're doing with that yet. One thing that's interesting is that a lot of the insurance companies, what they're doing is, let's say you have business interruption insurance. The whole concept is if you're not able to do business due to something outside your control, they will cover you and pay you some fraction of the income you would have expected to make during that period. And what they are doing is they're saying, well, technically New York City is allowing you to open so you're not interrupted, so you don't get anything. So let's say you are paying rent on a 8,000 square foot restaurant, but now you only have 300 square foot of sidewalk space. Well, even though you're paying rent, you're on 8,000 square foot space, and you can only use 300 square feet of that space, and your landlord is fully expecting the full rent, they will not give you a dime. And a lot of the landlords are also not giving people any break, which is kind of interesting. But the landlords are not giving anybody a break because the city is not giving them any break on their property tax, and the city's not giving them a break on their property tax because once the city stops collecting tax, this whole charade of New York City just kind of collapses. And that should be fun. So what I want to do is I kind of want to travel around to more of the, go out, party-ish looking areas, kind of get an idea, see if people are still active or if they are staying inside and everything's still closed, how that's going. But you can see you got some people wearing the mask, some people not wearing the mask, is what it is. But one thing you'll notice is that you'll usually see like 2 or 3 people. If you see a group of 2 or 3 or 4 people, one will have a mask on, the other will have the mask on below the nose, the other will have the mask on around their neck, and one person won't have it at all. It's a fairly standard pattern, and it's a standard scatter pattern that you'll be able to see throughout the city. Yeah, that's why we're number 1 in New York City. Number 1 in COVID deaths across the nation. Go New York. So, it's gonna... Yeah, I don't think people are really meant to be one on top of the other, like they are here. There's another little restaurant over here. Usually got all the young people going out to. This is a lovely idea. So put a bunch of servers and people walking back and forth in between a bike lane and the street. Yeah, I'm sure this isn't going to end badly. You can see there's a bunch of people here and they're all eating and, enjoying their evening. Shit. Looks like a nice little place. Not sure how they're going to be paying their rent, but God bless them if they can try. Let's see. Yeah, you can see this block is kind of a little bit more, it's like the West Village area. The stuff is starting to reopen. It's not nearly as busy as it used to be. It used to be where if I went around the street in this area, I wouldn't really be able to ride my bike through it when I got to this point. I was skirting around people. But it's still pretty busy. Way busier than I would have expected it to be. With the plague and all. It is what it is. It is what it is. You can tell that young people are really kind of over this whole I'm staying inside all the time thing. I kind of wonder how much the protests had to do with that. I think seeing, in New York City, seeing tens of thousands of people take to the streets in close quarters. Yeah, seeing tens of thousands of people take to the streets in really close quarters with a lot of yelling going on and a lot of masks by the chin, and you didn't see giant spikes, got people to start feeling more comfortable going back outside and doing things normally again. Because before that, I didn't really see people walking outside a lot on Friday night. It was, even on a Friday night, it was totally dead. Sometimes I kind of wonder, like, how much of the protests were protests versus people just tired of being inside for 3 months and this is something to do. Police line, do not cross. Defund the police. At least the people who arrest people who ride e-bikes past the police line. Let's see. This is a nice little area. This is actually right near where I was looking to rent a store 9 years ago. Let's see if it's still here. 38 West 8th Street. Ah, it's still here. It still hasn't been rented. Yeah, it was $4,000 a month right here, the real estate one. Mook. MLB Kaye International Realty. This shit is still here with all the same shit that was in the window when I checked this place out all that time ago. It's crazy. Yeah, this is crazy. Yeah, I think I offered them $4,000 a month for that. And they were asking $4,000. And I said, okay, I'll pay it. I'll give you your 4-month deposit. So what do you say? I'm like, we don't really think you're a good tenant. We think we can find better. Well, good luck with that. Some project they were supposed to start building there after they tore down the building. Yeah, it looks like a lot of good luck with that one. You can see a bunch of people eating in the streets here, and I don't know. But it's not really the same as before. This really does feel like kind of a dead cat bounce of the city's nightlife. Because I find it hard to believe that any of these restaurants are going to be around very soon. You know, if they're not going to be allowed to have people indoors in the winter, people are not going to sit outside when it's 17 degrees outside, and a lot of these landlords want their full rent. The city wants their full property tax. And, you know, there was always another idiot to take the space of a restaurant that went under. Anytime you had a restaurant that, you know, was like 20 or 30,000 in rent for a tiny space, there'd be someone who shows up. I did a video on this about how the real estate market in New York is bullshit about a year ago. So, you know, there was some communist that got really excited and happy because they thought, oh my God, Louis is saying markets are bullshit. It's like, no, this market is bullshit, not all markets. This was the thing is that there's always somebody who thinks I can make it there, and they assume because everybody else is doing well that they're going to make it there, but they can't. They can't make it there. So they rent it, and they wind up going broke or bankrupt, and then a few months later someone else rents it, and so on and so forth, because they see the people that are in the area are making it. But the other people in the area are people who have leases from like 1987 that may still, you know, like they are not paying what it is you're paying, which is why they're able to be successful. And once their lease is up, they leave, and it becomes yet another empty store like the one that I showed you. And I don't think there's going to be the next round of people that run to New York City after this. Like, I don't think there's going to be the next round of idiots clamoring to pay, you know, $30,000 for a little box. I don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't see it. I've been thinking about leaving the city a lot. Like, I mean, I've always thought about it, but I've never really been able to act on it. There's like a lot of people in my comments that have always said, you know, you really, really should consider leaving. I don't understand why you don't leave, because all the business is mail-in. It really wasn't the case, but now, oh, here we go. St. Mark's is where an old competitor of mine used to be before he closed down to start a bar. Wonder how that's been going for him. some guy that offered to buy my place 8 years ago for $80,000 and had really veiled threats if I didn't take the offer. I am now in business in a larger facility, and he has a bar. I'm probably winning on that one. But yeah, you can see this is St. Mark's Place over here. It's a real kind of lots of young people, all eating outside. They don't have any. You see a bunch of bikes on the left, some cool looking electric bikes with some wooden containers for the batteries. Pretty cool. I've never seen an electric bike gang before. That's actually really cool. Like 4 electric bikes there. Lots of people eating outside. I've thought about leaving. I've always thought about leaving. And in 2013, when I started really making a concerted push to not just have mail-in be bonus side business, but a real major part of my business, I did it with the mind that I would want the freedom to leave the city sometime. I don't know if you saw that, but that guy just did a circle in the street in a red light. That's brave. Like there's one thing to like look to your left, look to your right. There's no one there. I might as well, fine, I'll go through the red. But stuff like that takes bravery. I don't have bravery for that. It's like those kids that ride their bike with no helmet and do a wheelie halfway down the street in traffic. Like, man, I can't do that, You got larger balls than I do, for sure. So I always had a mind towards leaving, but I never really had the business or the money to leave. Like when you look at your QuickBooks and you see that 95% of your revenue from your business is repairs and 95% of those repairs are walk-in, leaving means doom. Because, building up search engine optimization and all that kind of shit in a new area for so that you rank for MacBook Repair Wisconsin, MacBook Repair Brookfield, MacBook Repair, Olathe, Kansas, or whatever the hell. Like that's hard. It takes time. And in the time that you're waiting to get a Google ranking, you go hungry and you starve to death. No thanks. But that's really, really, really changed over the past few months. And and there's a lot of work that was put in over the past 7 years to make that. Oh my God, stop that. There's a lot of work that's been put in over the past 7 years to make that possible. So when I look at my QuickBooks and it tells me that over 63% of my repair business is mail-in, and the revenue of the business, there's so many different forms of it. You have the forum that Volley's answering questions on. You've got, what are you doing, cabbie? Your turn signal? Oh yeah, there you go. You put your fucking turn signal on right after you start turning. Gotta love the city. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna start turning, and then once I'm halfway in the other lane, then I'll put my turn signal on. I don't mind if you disobey basic traffic laws when there's nobody around. Just don't disobey traffic laws that get me killed. I'm not gonna go full on Karen on you, but all I ask is that you not kill me. It's a pretty simple one. See, they're breaking the law going through a red light. He's breaking the law going through a red light, but there's nobody there. And nobody cares because there's nobody there. But don't make a left turn into a lane when you're right in front of me without the turn signal. Come on. Anyway. There's other forms of business revenue. We sell some parts online. It's not a lot of it, but it's some. We have a forum. It's not a lot of it, but it's some. There's YouTube revenue. It's not really a lot of it, and it sure as fuck is not stable. But Eli could give more of a rant on that when it comes to the whole having 1 million subscribers and 800 views in a video thing. But it's some. There's a bunch of stuff there, and the requirement of being in New York really isn't there. It really is not there. It's I could go and I would not be screwed in terms of the revenue streams that I have. Where I would be screwed are the people, because the people really do to some extent make the business. You have to have good people. You have to have people that are always looking to push the boundaries, figure out how to fix, not people where you're teaching them how to fix the device and they do it. People who, when something new comes out, they figure it out on their own because they're curious. Not people where you have to tell them to not be an asshole to the customers, but people where they see where you fall short and how you're dealing with customers and come up with ways that you and the entire company could better deal with difficult situations. Like those types of people. And I got those types of people, but they're here. And like, what is the business like when you don't have that anymore? So I've spoken with some of them, about my thoughts on everything and how more of the revenue is mail-in versus walk-in, how New York City gets more and more expensive each year, how it makes less and less sense to live in a shithole like New York, at least in my opinion. I'm not going to speak for everybody. And when you don't have the bars and the entertainment and the studios and the music venues and all of that stuff that kind of makes it worth living in Broadway, like, what is the point? And where I really kind of think it would make sense to just go somewhere else. What are your thoughts on this? Or maybe just have a much smaller place in the city. We'll see how my landlord plays along. Like maybe they do, maybe they don't. This place is not worth $12,500 if walk-in business is what it is. It's just not. It's fundamentally not. Like the only reason that a space that's the size of a garage is worth $12,500 is you have FIT right next door. You have all these midtown offices that are open with all these financial people that make all this money that are going to be your client base and pay you. And when all those schools are closed, and when all these businesses in the area are also closed, that space really it's not worth $12,500 anymore. Like, it was a good deal. It was like $66 a square foot, which is the lowest that I have found for any space whatsoever in 10 years. That doesn't really even matter anymore. Like, none of those prices matter anymore. None of that premium's worth it. One of the people that I have here is like, yeah, if you found a place to live where I could actually afford a fucking house instead of a shitty apartment that's $2,600 a month, and I'd have space, and like I'd have a backyard and all that for my kids to play in. Yeah, I'd love the idea of moving. Other people are like, not so much. You got people here that just bought their first home. They have a mortgage for 15 or 30 years that they're committed to. You're walking in the bike lane like it's a sidewalk. Why? Anyway, you have people who have wives and husbands here who have jobs working outside the company. So, like, they would get fucked over. So if they moved, even if they had a slightly higher standard of living, if your wife makes $6,000 or $8,000 a month and that income goes away, good luck finding that again if you move across the country in a recession. All of that kind of stuff has to be taken into account. At least for myself personally, I got I kind of have mentally 1 foot outside the city. It's not even so much a tax thing. You can usually tell the people that are obsessed with watching Fox News because they always mention like the worst thing about New York is the taxes. When you think about it, the property tax here is and a lot of the houses and buildings is 0.7%. That's low. A lot of other places, the property tax is way more than 0.7% on a house or a nice home. They talk, and when it comes to the income tax, like it's a little bit higher, but like 10% or whatever on your income tax, that doesn't fucking matter to the normal person. It's like, even if you make a decent salary, it's gonna come out to like $300 or $500 a month. That's not what kills you. What kills you is how an apartment that somewhere else is worth $800 and this shithole city is worth $2,600. What kills you is how where anywhere else you park for free, here parking near your work is like $800 to $1,200. Like that's the stuff that kills you. It's not the taxes. Like if you're a multi-millionaire or a billionaire, then the taxes get you, because then you actually have something on which to be taxed. But what gets you is just the amount that you pay for what you get. And for me, it really is one of those things. Like you look at the rent, and like the rent that I pay for what I get, that whole access to again, $12,500 a month. If most of the businesses if a lot of the businesses walk in, that's a deal. That's an easy deal. And I get all that business. I'm good at what I do. We're all good at what we do. Hell, my employees are way better than me at what we do. I just kind of have my name on the window because I was there before them. Capitalism. But, I don't see how any of that's worth it. Shit, for the amount of money I pay here, I could own a building in Delaware. Looking at areas like Newark, Delaware. Like, I could own a building for twice the space that I have now for like $600,000 or $700,000 bucks. I mean, I could get a mortgage on that, put a down payment of a few $100,000 maybe, if I save up. And on that building, I own it. So if the business doesn't work out, I sell it. And even if I lose some money on selling the building because property value goes down or there's fees and taxes involved in selling a building, whatever. At least it's not a full loss. Renting is a full loss. You know, and the really sad thing I saw is that you really can't escape New York. You have to escape the Northeast. You can't escape New York. So a lot of people have said try out Jersey. Jersey has 2.2 to 2.5% property tax. So what that means for those who are not good at math, if you have a $500,000 to $800,000 home, which are the prices of a lot of the homes in Jersey, you're going to be paying $14,000 to $17,000 a year for the privilege of owning your home after you pay the $700,000 to own it. So you have a mortgage of like $3,000 or $4,000 a month, and then on top of your mortgage and the $200,000 or $300,000 in your down payment, now you have to pay the fucking state of Jersey $15,000 to $17,000 a year to keep your home. And if you want to leave Jersey, if you go to buy a new house, they fucking tax you for leaving Jersey. Yes, let me repeat, they tax you again for fucking leaving Jersey. So like, that's out. Fuck Jersey. Jersey's a joke. Because Jersey has all the same bullshit that makes it expensive that New York City has, but none of the economy. Like, I don't get any of the fringe benefits of all the walk-in business, but I get the high prices. So fuck that. Fuck Jersey. Then you have Connecticut property taxes like 1.8 and higher, and very high home prices. But again, you don't have the walk-in business you do of Midtown Manhattan, at least before pre-COVID. New Hampshire, property tax again. You get Pennsylvania. The funny thing is on the New York side, you get the like 1.8% property tax. Some areas are like 1.8, 1.9. It's not terrible, but it's not really worth it for the total and utter lack of walk-in business that is going to be present in 90% of Pennsylvania. You get Delaware. Delaware looks nice. Like, the houses look fucking nice. I'm going to link to my dream house down below. Somebody made an offer on my dream house. I'm very pissed. I used to love looking at I'm not even like buying it. I just used to look and hope and pray that it stays on the market for a few years until I can actually afford it. You know, I really would like to. I love this, the way that this place looks. Like the natural light everywhere, the space, the garages, the way the living room flows into the kitchen and looks. It's all very, very nice. It's not Newark, it's Bear. But that's like close, you know. You can commute to Newark from there. So it's a really nice looking place. Property tax is like around 0.7%. But it's 0.7% property tax, and the home values are actually normal. So like within the 5 boroughs of New York City, property tax is low, but home values are insane. Outside the 5 boroughs of New York City, home values start to get a little closer to sane. Like, it's still bullshit overpriced crap, but the property tax is insane. So you have to buy a shitbox for $600,000 and pay $15,000 a year for the privilege of living there. But in Delaware, nice house, nice neighborhood, good home price, low tax on the home, low tax on the business, and places to buy a store twice the size of what I have now, and it would cost the same as my lease would cost over, actually less money than what my lease would cost over 10 years. Way less money than what my lease would cost over 10 years. And at that point, like, I really gotta think. You know, like, obviously, like, the 37 or so percent of walk-in business, like, I could just tell that business to go fuck off. Like, suck it. You're not worth living in a shit city, in a shit environment, in a place that just kind of degrades your brain over time because it's filthy everywhere and people are mean to each other and can't own anything. I was talking about this with Jessa tonight. She said, you know, how would you feel about leaving your home? And I said, what are you talking about home? She goes, it's your home. And I said, I don't own anything here. I don't know about you. I don't own anything here. But Jessa thinks she owns something here, which I think is adorable. She has a lake house and a normal house. And I was looking up the property tax on it. It's like, after paying a few $100,000 for the house, she gets the privilege of paying about $15,000, $16,000 a year in property tax. So, like, I don't know if Jessa still thinks she owns her home. I don't think she does. I think if you spend over $14,000 in property tax on a house that is not a mansion, you don't own it. You just think you own it. You think you own it. And it's adorable. It's cute, but it's a mirage. So I want to kind of go around the country on my new bike, the one that I can do 200 or 300 miles in a single charge, and charge it at J1772 charging stations because I got a 30 amp charger. And I got that little adapter that goes from IEC to J1772. It's going to be awesome. I want to travel around the country a little bit, see what other areas look like, and kind of scope out where it is I want to spend my 30s and where I want to go in case New York City becomes a total cesspool. Because it's not really any one individual factor. I think I want to make that clear. It's not one individual factor. Like, it's not the fact that rent is $12,500. It's not the fact that it's kind of dirty and nasty. It's not the fact that in my lifetime I will never be able to afford a home here, ever. Like, I could stay here until I'm 80. I will never afford a home here that is to a decent standard. It's not that, like, a few months ago that the entire city just kind of got ransacked and the idea among a lot of people was, you know, injustices happen to, so whatever, you know, let people do their thing. And, you know, if you're angry at what they did, you're not allowed to multitask. You can't say that Derek Chauvin deserves the gas chamber and screw you if you're you know, destroying the family-owned Korean barbecue across the street. But every now and then would give out free samples to people if they walked in and said they were hungry. You know, like, there's really not much left here anymore to make it worth like, it is the entire big picture of it is just, it's not really working. It's not really working for me. Like, I saw what happened in Chicago a few days ago with the you know, that business district where everything got ransacked and people were saying, you know, all of it's insured, so consider it reparations. And it's just, I do data recovery. You know, like, insurance will never pay for people's memories. But, like, even without that, the city is just not worth it. It really, like, it wasn't before. So I just don't see how, like, I think that it makes sense to have 1 foot outside, like, just 1 foot out the door. Like, not both, but, you know, just kind of be prepared. There's people revving behind me, so I'm gonna get going sooner. You know, I think it makes sense to have that's nice. One-way street going the wrong way. Again, you break the traffic laws that won't kill me, I don't care. Don't break the traffic laws that kill me. I think I'm reasonable. I don't expect the world from people, especially in this city. But, so the question is, what place do I want to go to? And then when I find a place that's any good, how do I convince the people on the team that are the best that it's a good place to go? And the second question is, do I have one place in New York City just to keep the walk-in business that I have? that's smaller? Like, do I find some place in the city for walk-in business to keep? And then have the mail-in and walk-in, some like a tiny bit of walk-in, but mostly mail-in in like a place like Delaware or somewhere else? Or do I just say fuck it and switch off having a New York location entirely? That's a question that I'm gonna have to come up with an answer to. Because the real estate prices are really, 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 like, I don't know what the commercial market is like, and I'm not sure if they're back to planet Earth yet. Because as I showed you, as I explained, there are places that were empty 8 to 10 years ago and they are still empty today. And some of them are like that place where they decided we're just going to demolish the building and put together something better. But some of them are places where the building, where it still has a for rent sign on it. So I don't know how crazy these people are. Like, for all I know, they still want their $100 a square foot for their shithole stores. But maybe there's someone out there that's a little reasonable, that for like, I don't know, a space that's half the size of the one that I have now, maybe they'll be willing to like take $4 or $5, pay for it. We'll see. But like, do you kind of like slightly divest from Manhattan, or do you, or should it just be like a Band-Aid, like right off? You know, that's a question that I'm gonna have to come up with an answer to. But numbers really can't, like, numbers don't lie. Like, you can lie to yourself, you can talk about how you feel, you can make decisions based on how you feel, but numbers really don't lie, and they don't really care about the rest. That is a brave man right there. Because my bike goes vroom. Numbers don't lie, and the numbers clearly say that the amount of money that I'm going to be paying year over year to be here makes absolutely no sense given the New York environment. Some of the other stuff that has to be considered is, like one employee brought up to me, a smart guy, he said, well, how much of that mail-in business is actually New York people just mailing stuff because they're afraid of going to a store with COVID versus actual mail-in as in they're bringing stuff in from other parts of the country? And I suppose my answer to that is I'm not really sure how much it matters, because if I could actually get people who are in New York City to mail stuff to Delaware or wherever the hell I wind up going instead of walking it into the store, it doesn't really even matter at that point. Does it really even matter? Not sure. Yeah, there's talk of de Blasio having to lay off or fire 22,000 workers if he doesn't get aid from the federal government. A lot of the budget of the city, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Run! Didn't seem to make sense before COVID. Definitely doesn't make a lot of sense after COVID. Like, New York City had its reckoning budget-wise was going to come at some point or another. It was just a question of when. This guy's going into the wrong. Never mind. Person behind me was revving up to pass me. Yes. I know. I'm only going 5 miles an hour over the speed limit instead of 30. Silly me. It's not just New York that's going to be getting owned. Everybody, all the places are. I think it's easier to notice it here because New York City was so fucked pre-COVID to begin with regards to like what it costs to live here. I was looking at this one news story about someone in Tennessee who got evicted from their home while they had COVID. And they're like on the sidewalk with, I forget, if some breathalyzer or something that's delivering medication to them or some shit, intravenous, whatever. I don't know exactly what it was. It looked like whatever the hell a sick person has at their side to help them get through life being sick. And they got kicked out. Like, that's going to be happening all over the country. Any of the people that thought that riots or looting and stuff that happened after the police stuff, man, when they wait till you see what happens when like 10 or 20 million people get kicked out of their home. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be such a clusterfuck. It's such a mess. You know what's really weird is that I never really got into the whole like going out on Friday night thing. Like, my idea of a nice Friday night was coming home after a day of work, doing a video or two, or trying to get my business forward, doing a video, go home, sit on my recliner, turn on my Vandersteins, have Alice in Chains' Jar of Flies play, crack open a drink when I used to drink, read my Bloomberg news, and then go to bed. Like, that's really all it took to make me happy. And it's weird because like I always thought when I was a teenager, I don't get what they're having fun when they're just like going out and like all screaming at each other at a party. Like, I really don't get what's fun about that. It's not the type of socialization that I enjoy. And though maybe in my 20s I'll get it. And then I turn to my 20s. And the very rare occasions that I would actually go out with groups of people to these parties or whatever, I would be so fucking bored and I would wind up just riding my bike back to work on a motherboard. I'm not kidding. Or do a video. And then I would, and I thought maybe when I'm older I'll get it. And what's crazy is the city is completely falling apart to the point where all these places are actually shut down, maybe not coming back. If I move, I'm probably gonna go to a place where that is really not something, like, you're not gonna have all these like bars and clubs and restaurants everywhere where all these young people congregate. So like, I never really did it when I had the opportunity to do it here. And I would be kind of closing the door on that chapter of my life, but without having actually entered it. I kind of wonder how that's gonna be. Because I really never got much out of that. Maybe it's just because I'm not a social person, or like if I'm not doing something that I feel is directly productive, I just kind of, I don't get a kick out of it. And the superficial conversations that I would have when I would go to meetup groups or parties with people that were acquaintances of any kind were usually the most boring of all the nights that I spent in the city. Genuinely never got it. It just strikes me as a little strange. But like, for the entire time, I've lived here my whole life, and I've met all these people, and when I ask them, like, why did you want to come to New York City? What about New York City did you love? It's like, oh, all the restaurants and the bars, and there's so much to do here, and the people. And when people ask me, like, why do you want to leave? I usually say, oh, you know, the people, and it's the same shit every block. Fucking bar, shitty restaurant, bar, shitty restaurant, bar, shitty restaurant. It's gonna go out of business in a year or two because none of them can afford to fucking pay their rent here. Like, the reasons other people come here and pay a premium are the very reasons I want to leave. And I never really found out what it is that made it so enjoyable for all of them. And I guess if I leave, then I never will. And it kind of makes me wonder, like, was I not a true New Yorker, or was I the true New Yorker this whole time because I was trying to work and build a business here and, accomplish something that outlived me instead of just get drunk and wasted every night after moving here with my parents' money? kind of wish I was alive when a majority of the people that were here were, quote, real New Yorkers rather than people who just moved here to go to a prestigious university on their parents' dime or pursue their dreams to become an artist. Oh, if you can become an artist, you must move to New York City and play at pianos in Arlene's grocery and deal with the cokehead owner and not get paid anything. That's the experience. Oh, man. I don't care what they call a real New Yorker anymore. It's weird, because if I go somewhere else, people are gonna have that bias, like, you're a New Yorker. I get all this shit in my comments where people say, you know, I don't want you demo rats from New York City coming to my place and voting this like you vote here. And it's like, how the fuck do you know who I voted for, you ideologically possessed moron? If I could strap de Blasio to my bike and fucking ride him out of office, tied to this thing with all of my bungee cords, I would do it. Fortunately, he has security. So, but they're going to assume that I love New York this whole time. And it's so weird, because when I go to other places and they figure out that you're from New York, they go, oh. It's like, I don't like it there either. I was born there. I couldn't choose where the womb that I came out of was located. So they have this crazy bias against you because you're from New York. So it's going to be interesting if I go anywhere else to deal with a bunch of people that hate me just because of my accent. Oh, well. Look at this. They're building all these really nice apartments and spaces in this neighborhood. It's so funny. It's so weird because, like, nobody can afford it. So, like, you see here, see this building? This is actually a nice building. It's not some old shithole building. And you want to know why people don't like these buildings, even though they look nice? It's because they know the fact that it looks nice means they will never be able to afford to live here. That's why it's always covered in graffiti and shit. The niceness in and of itself, it just kind of taunts you. Like that $4,000 apartment in a shitty neighborhood. It just taunts you. You will never afford this. You can... Whoa. That was a sad sound. That was the sound of me needing to change my chain ring. My chain came off of this thing twice. Never comes off with the other bike. Got a nice, sweet, Lecky bling ring 36 tooth in the other one, and it's all nice and fresh. This one's got some cruddy ass old chain rings from... Man, never used the stock Bafang chain ring. Those things are shit. It's really worth it. Like at the beginning I thought, wait, this thing comes with a chain ring. Why the hell would I pay $70 for that? And then you see how bad it is, and it's like, oh, that's why I pay $70 for that. Because it's not a piece of shit. Well, this is the point at which Mr. Bike Mechanic will end his video. I'll see you all in the next one. I would say I hope you learned something, but this is really just kind of 40 minutes of incoherent rambling while I ride around the city. So I will see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching. Got a lot to think about myself. Probably so do all of you. Best of luck.